I'll be honest with you, I think we peaked at the Kelly Kelly voicemail. I don't think sorry, voice female, beg your pardon.
Hey,
Um,
voice person.
Voice person, exactly.
A voice person.
Voice powerful woman.
Excuse
Uh,
me, 69 days to go to WrestleMania.
nice. So,
Goddamn.
see, this seems like appropriate time for two women to fight for a championship.
Yes, and it doesn't matter who's going to come out on top or who's going to be on the undercard.
Uh, not to say that,
Uh,
not to say that we're struggling for material here, but we have just combined wrestling and sex moves for ironically what could be very well be the 69th time.
what is the difference? I mean, you got body glitter and spandex. I don't know how you spend your weekends, but
Well, one of them involves watching Dean Malenko, and then the other one what involves watching Dean Malenko.
oh, the Iceman cometh.
He actually, yes, he did several times.
Yeah. Although you'd imagine it's chain wrestling, even in the boudoir, would be pretty good. Like essentially, Dean Malenko having sex is just paramount to masturbation because he does all the work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean he's a hell of a worker. I mean you can't. Sorry, wanker. Meant to say sorry. Uh,
Yay!
force of habit.
Yeah, I'm just seeing a couple of clips of people like berating how much of a dick he is. And I'm like, I thought he was funny, but I didn't have to wrestle him. So
No, I was going to say it's different. It's different when you have to work with him, I suppose.
as probably different when you have to ride him as well.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he was so cranky.
I've gone 15 minutes and I haven't got my whole -5 stars.
Has there been a apart from the audience, has there ever been an incel wrestling character?
I would consider Snitsky to be a bit of an insult.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
To be
I'll
fair, he
give
was
that.
just more. He was just kind of like he was always just meant to be weird, you know?
Hmm.
Like
Weird, ungroomed, smelly, kicks
yeah.
babies. Yeah, I know that guy.
I mean, there's one guy I think in either NXT or NXT Junior, that's kind of like I'm not calling it LFG because that's a fucking stupid name.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Let's
that's
fucking
seems to be
go.
that seems to be kind of doing the kind of a dark netty kind of gimmick, like kind of like made from 4chan type of stuff.
Okay.
It's just a kind of a sheltered male, and I'll be honest, it's not really gonna work. I suppose like from not necessarily kind of like incel stuff, but more predatory stuff. DDP when he debuted,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
that would have been one. Um, yeah,
If anything, like it's fuel for the. I mean, we are the basement.
yeah,
It's fuel for the basement, but you never see anyone really. I mean, you kind of had a little bit of that with Slap and Tickle and Mace Windu and poor Mustafa Ali. Um,
mm,
they tried to go that route with it, but
yeah.
it never sticks.
No,
It never stays.
it's one of those again. It's the kind of the hero fulfillment of wrestling as well. Is that you don't like you want to be if you want to be if you want to follow a wrestler, you want to follow something that you're not in a sense. It's
Yeah,
something that like is uh far away enough from you that you can
yeah.
get emotionally involved in it in a sense.
Oh, that's why I like Karrion Cross so much. Because we're so similar.
Oh yeah. In fairness, Brian, you're actually more employable than he is right now, so that actually works out quite well.
Oh man, that YouTube documentary is stellar, absolutely stellar, both parts. I only from the it was from the again Chris Van Vliet through all great things go
Yeah,
through the prism of wrestling, um, and Cross is coming across like just a really like funny, sound, fucking good guy with an excellent Jesse Ventura impression.
yeah.
To the point where he ran it back during the Sasso interview. And I was like, oh, he seems a bit of crack. I wonder why they don't do much stuff with him. And then he was just like, it just started to unravel. And this like seemingly multimedia pronged approach of like, we want Cross and like, oh, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Ooh. Um,
Mm.
we like to, yeah. This is the what's that meat market where all the civil servants go to ride each other? Copperface Jacks. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the Copperface Jack special there by Mickey James. Little ride and a wheelhouse kick. A little kiss and kick.
I believe in Coppers they call it the All Ireland semi final.
Yeah, and then Horselips plays,
Obviously,
ironically enough.
those are the same. Yeah.
Do, 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 do. But yeah, to see Cross like just fully like seemingly bare his soul to everybody, but then be an absolute sweetheart to his fans, and I'm like, you motherfuckers got me. If yous are working, my God, yous have got me. I think
You
he's
see,
a delight.
this the curious thing about Carrie in a sense. Like, I think there will genuinely be a case study, and I'm trying to remember if there's been a similar case of like it has was Carrying Cross actually over, or was it something that was a case where like I like the way I kind of read it is that like I think the fans like the idea of a Karrion Cross character, like conceptually.
Yeah,
I think a
yeah,
lot of people like that kind of devil's advocate, that kind of corrupting force type of thing, because it is quite a captivating character. There
mhm,
isn't anyone that's really able to do that, bar since Bray Wyatt, of course. But
yeah,
then I'm also thinking like back in the Smackdown days, you would have had Sean O'Hare, who was the blueprint of that character, and then maybe before then you had Waylon Mercy and stuff like that. But those characters didn't work for a particular reason, and is it because of the person playing them, or is it because that like you've accidentally made yourself a very potent one-trick pony? And with carrying and with the carrying and the Sammy feud, that can only really work. It can only work two ways. One, to get Sammy over as a big baby face, which was the
yeah,
idea from to begin with, or two, you ruin Sammy's momentum to make carrying right in the argument, and he gets over in his own right. And then you have to play the maths of it and go, okay, what do we actually benefit more from? Do we benefit from Sammy being the next kind of like pure baby face to take
mhm,
over from, not take over, but at least to be to debutize for Cody? Or do we want yet another heel
yeah.
in a company that has quite a lot to begin with? And that's the kind of the issue, is that Karrion is always going to be fourth or fifth in the food chain. He's never going to be the biggest villain on the set, because there's a lot of fucking villains
But
in
he's not
WWE right
even.
now.
But even by right and the way he's doing it, the way people have taken to him,
Yeah.
he's the line in the not to fucking verbatim
Hmm.
the documentary because it's worth its own watch. And he talks about that dynamic of just being that little bit too good,
Yeah.
just being that little bit too over, and just not biding your time. Whereas it's like LA Knight 2.0. It's
Yeah.
like we don't really have anything for you, and nor do we plan to go anywhere with you. Butcher, yeah, we'll give it a lash. And
That's an
if
interesting
you
thought though,
start,
because like for me, like the LA Knight thing is more of the case. Like that guy has just a natural skill set to carry momentum in that respect. Whereas like I've watched a bit of carrying cross. Like I've since that he's actually started being booked, I've actually watched more carrying cross matches than I think I've ever have in the last 2 or 3 years.
yeah,
And I'm genuinely not particularly like the move set doesn't match the wrestler
no,
for me. It just
not at
doesn't.
all.
Whoever that person is in the ring is doing totally different stuff to what he should be doing as a character. You know what I mean? Like the way like Bray Wyatt had this nice kind of languid style of where like be able to like he walks differently, he carries his body differently. LA Knight is this is a bit of a segue here, but like LA Knight has the same kind of thing where like LA Knight knows he's an Attitude Era tribute act. So he wrestles like an Attitude Era tribute act.
Yeah,
He doesn't push the fucking boat out in that respect. And he also knows that like again, ironically enough, he knows his role here. He knows that if he's out on this part of the card, he's getting that crowd hot, he's getting that card warmed up, he's doing something in a sense. He knows his use on the roster. Whereas I
yeah,
think Carrion's this dissonance is that I think Karrion doesn't know where he is, yeah, on the card. He doesn't know whether he's sideshow, on the card, main event, or whatever. He just it just hasn't resonated with him. But again, conceptually, the fans want to resonate with him, but they don't know how. So we'll just
it's
start asking for a character that doesn't really exist in the to
if you
begin with.
if you see it, if you get it on the watch of the documentary, and you can
Hmm.
just see what he is actually pitching
Yeah,
versus what he gets to go out and do, and all that. There's enough pattern recognition to go, oh wow, could kind of see where this is going.
yeah,
Um, and it doesn't need to be much, but you can just see like it's just that the, it all has to match.
yeah.
Your promo has to match your gear, has to match your entrance music, has to match your move set.
Hmm.
And whereas he is, could be a cornerstone of the entire company and is at least putting himself in the position to get over. And then when it comes to the actual part here, this
Yeah.
version, with the ring and the production and everything like that, he's like, and he just hasn't seemingly pulled the trigger, or no one has seemingly wanted to pull the trigger on him. Where the
Mm,
chap can snap a baseball bat, like he is as legit gets.
yeah.
It wouldn't take much to show him being, really, really good. So take
Yeah.
Big Dead Mark for an example. Could always throw a decent punch because he can throw a decent punch.
Yeah, no, like I
Uh,
said, there's a streak of legitimacy through most stars in a sense where like even though they're puffed up to the eyeballs, you could believe that the likes of Triple H or Stone Cold would handle themselves in a fight, in a real fight, in a sense. There has to be the kind of that streak that conceptual idea of like, yeah, if I'm walking down a dark alleyway and I see fucking the dead man here, going somewhere else in a sense because even just the silhouette of him go like, nope, I'm turning around, I'm not
yeah,
going anywhere near him. It's that kind of like that kind of proverbial fear factor you need to kind of propose. I think a bit of a red flag for me is always the case of like, well, it's like, well, they didn't like that. It's like I want to do this, but they want to go another route. It's like, well, wrestling is always about reciprocation, the kind of way. And I think especially in WWE, WWE will predominantly tell you what they need and whether you can fill the bill or sell. Like, the reason I use our kind of recent kind of imports as an example of that. Like Jordan Devlin's a world beater. We know this. We know this from watching our local scene.
yeah.
Like, there will be a point where like he will go on a solo run and he will have a fantastic fucking time. Like he will be appreciating the same kind of realm as the likes of a Dolph Ziggler and stuff like this. That just someone who just works his arse off and may possibly never gets credit for it. But we know the capacity of what that person can do. But right now he is the stooge in a stable, right? And he's okay with that because I think he knows the significance of just being booked in something rather than kind of like, trying to pull against the machine and go, well, actually, I kind of want to do this instead. It was like, that's very indie. It's a very indie thing to do. And the thing is with carrying, go on the indies and rule the world
Yeah.
is what I would say. Do what a lot of other people are doing. The likes of like Monet and a few others are going like, you know what, fuck it, let me just run the card that I want to run. Because that's ultimately the biggest like kind of advantage of being on the indies is that you have creative control. On the indies, you are able to present yourself as what you want in that respect, and it's
When
up
you
there
yeah,
to the
when you have it.
promotions to buy in and go, actually, yeah, I'll raise my hand. I want some of that. Come over here, and
I'll
I'll have you
book you the
fight
way
me
you're
down
selling.
or something.
It's like I'll buy what you're selling.
Yeah, exactly. The
Versus
marketplace.
Carrion seems to know clearly knows how to connect to an audience and how to get over, but it
Yep.
doesn't fit into the Disney jigsaw. Whereas
Yeah.
they're like, there's an opening on the roster for this type of performer,
Mm.
and we'll just go down to the performance center and get another one if you don't want to play this role.
Yeah.
Whereas he's one of the last hangovers of the Vince regime, where
Yeah.
Vince saw him a certain way and booked him a certain way, and then Triple H tried to run it back with a little reverse NXT and throw the big heavies in with him, and it was just you can only rewash something before you start wearing the seams, and that's what seemed to happen with him. So he
And
either
much to that point that yeah, you're in the land of the heavyweights as it is. I know WWE has changed quite a bit and it kind of caters to a lot more kind of weight divisions, if you like now, but
yeah,
it's still the land of the giants. And I think there's going to be a bit of a renaissance of the heavyweights coming soon, mainly because of Gunter and how phenomenal he is. But look at who's in NXT. Like, you've got a absolute fucking specimen in Obafemi there
yeah,
he will be big. He will be huge in wrestling. And the reason is that like he's one of the rare kind of specimens of people who super heavyweights who has charisma to burn.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like like he can be that kind of like I think WWE have always loved the idea of having this kind of like this like cultural like warlord in a sense where like he just like they want to have the proverbial kind of like teeth around the neck type of thing and
Mm.
just an absolute beast of a person. Like they've always loved doing MAGA, they've always loved Great Khali, they've always wanted like somebody of that ilk because it's something you can market to another part of the world in a sense. They love that
Yeah.
idea of it. And Obafemi is going to be that person for them, where like they just have to be able to. They don't have to do anything with him. They just look at this fucking beast. Look at this specimen. Look at his body of work. Look at how he speaks. We don't have to do anything here. You know, kind of way. It's like he's ready made to replace a super heavyweight already in the roster. You
Yeah.
know, and unfortunately, Karen will be the first on the chopping block because he will have such a flaw in how his character is made. But much to
You can
that point,
just
I think we kind of both got there at the same point. Now that you're on the, if you are independent and you can do whatever you want, you're in your own marketplace. You're advertising yourself now at this point. You can be whatever the fuck you want. You don't need creative control in that respect.
it's an odd it's an odd it's a subject we've circled around plenty of times, but
Mm.
everyone has to agree.
Yeah.
Everyone has to agree what's happening. Everyone needs to be on board with what's happening, to the point where everyone needs to something that just doesn't happen as much anymore, to the point where people would have to bump a certain way for certain moves, and that just doesn't happen as much anymore.
Yeah.
There's no the skill of getting someone over is very rarely on the person who you're trying to get over.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
no one else seems to understand, or at least that's my kind of little kind of conspiracy theory at the moment. Is here's a guy who's red hot. Everybody, let's get behind him.
Hmm.
Let the entire roster get behind him and get them over, which sells more tickets, sells more merch, gets people in, and gets more eyes on things, which gets us up the card.
Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be as much of that. Whereas I've been looking at a lot of Stevie Richards stuff. They all knew what they were doing.
Hmm.
They knew that, okay, like between looking at Stevie Richards and Al Snow, two absolute hands, really, 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 really good professional wrestlers
Yeah.
who knew what they were doing. Who knew that I don't need to be the world champion. I just need to be here while we are white hot.
Hmm.
And you can just see people go. I even from SummerSlam, I watched it and went, my fucking arse what night too.
Yeah.
There was just so much of it where nothing is feeding the next thing,
Yeah.
and it's all its own little thing with its own producers, and it's all kind of segmented and segregated off, that everyone wants to do their best version that
Mm.
doesn't serve the overall story of the night, of the show. And it's just something where I'm like, are, are the producers getting together? Like, are we aware that we're doing basically the same shit?
Yeah.
And how are we getting around that?
Well, famously, like there used to be a golden rule in WWE of like producing agents putting matches together where you don't repeat spots. Like no, like four matches shouldn't go to the Spanish announcers table. You decide
Yeah,
on the night, okay, who has the biggest claim to that announcers table? Who has the biggest claim to doing that big spot outside the ring? Who does the barricade spot? You know, all that sort of. Who does the tables? Who does the chairs? All this sort of shit. And I think, in fairness to WWE, some of those kind of like things are still maintained. I think other promotions are more guilty of that, where like, fuck it, everyone bleeds, you know, or as I like to call it, AEW Revolution, you
oh
know,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
or even TNA repeating spots. TNA repeats spots all the time, especially the height of Impact. But the difference is that, like, they know they're the alternative, so they'll have an alternative logic in a sense. Um, you know, they like it is like your case like if WWE zig we zag essentially, and that's always been the case. Whereas you'll have other places kind of beating to their own drum, and that's fine. If you like that sort of stuff, that's your rally sort of for you. Um, but I agree with your point in a sense. I think my biggest kind of issue in a sense is that um especially with WWE booking right now, like I think there's a bit of a false equivalence with like if it actually the product is better or not, if you know what I mean. I think it's a little bit more cynical, if you ask me, because um I think the people that are involved in WWE know that they peak and trough through over the year. You know,
Yeah.
they know that there's a little bit of a bump up in viewership around Money in the Bank. There's a bit of a bump up around SummerSlam. There's a bit of a bump up around, and there's actually no bump in Survivor Series. That one is for anoraks.
Are you telling me they're saving the good crayons for specific pages here, Jonathan? Is that what
Oh,
you're telling me?
absolutely. And again, this is something they've been doing for a long, long time. Like it is more efficient in a sense. Like if you were to tell me that, like, say the season of professional wrestling is from January to April, that's absolutely fine. And I think there is a hidden percentage of their viewership and their subscribers and their business essentially that is just for 4 months. So what they need to do is they need to try and kind of build the groundwork in order to get you to maximize those 4 months. What Triple H is trying to do is trying to make a little bit like more peaks every now and then. And I see where he's going, but do you need to do Sami Zayn versus Karrion Kross 3 months in a row? Do you need to do this exact match 2 months in a row? Like the sequelitis that for me
It's,
gets a little bit
it's
annoying after a while.
but that's something
You
you
know,
pointed out, whereas bookers have their patterns. That's the Triple H
yeah,
pattern, which
that's the
is
big pattern. Yeah.
I'm gonna run this into the fucking ground,
Hmm.
and if it does well, we'll accelerate it. We'll bring it to the
Yeah.
next stage. We'll heat it up. We'll put a gimmick on it or whatever.
Yes.
Um, like if people didn't react to the Undisputed Era the way they did, they wouldn't have got the screen time,
That's
but
a
they
very good point,
did.
actually. Yeah.
But you can see where someone gets over organically, and they go, "Okay, we'll have a look at that, and we'll try and." You can especially see with the Unreal series, you can see where they're like, you can see the thinking behind it, or at least the what we're known to know of the thinking
Yeah.
behind it. Where they're like, "Nah, there's something here. We can do a lot with you."
Mm.
Um, and we're gonna run this until the
Yeah.
wheels fall off. And they put everything behind it, and they get it all. You know, the Jey Uso, the Yeet Master General, Jey
Mm.
Uso, um, and more fucking power to him. But you can just see where it's like, I miss the television show. It's
Mm.
not a television show anymore, and television shows aren't even television shows. Everything's bingeable, and
Clips and clips and clips and
the
tricks, and that's it. Yeah.
the watching of things is entirely different. There is
Yeah.
no singular viewing time, but that's what televisual wrestling was best at.
Yeah.
Was you would have your 2 hour show,
Mm.
and you would have to hit your marks because you were on live TV,
Mm.
and you had to get the and regardless of the business behind it, of the advertising and all of that,
Yeah.
everything had to be paced out the way it was paced out because it was television and because it was live television. And the product just so happened to be ready for that, where you had an
Mm.
entire roster of people who are able to hit their times and who are able to go with it and who are able to do these types of things. Whereas now everything is so hyper fucking produced,
Yeah.
which is great in terms of the actual technical broadcast, but we're losing something.